Hi, and welcome back to the Driveway Marketing Podcast. I am your host, Bryan Durkin. And in today's episode, I'm going to share with you who the hell's Brian and why should I care? Most people you meet in business will tell you exactly up front who they are in their resume. And you'll notice, not by accident, that the first several episodes of this podcast were really laying the foundations out of, what's the challenge? Why am I doing this? And what are some simple things you can do to get started? So, um, a little bit of background about Brian. Kind of the boring stuff is, I was born to sell. I grew in my dad had a business. I grew up in an entrepreneurial household. We had challenges like every other entrepreneurial family with ups and downs and stuff like that. But I found at a very early age, I had the gift of the gab and I was able to get people to buy stuff. And I think I even talk about in the book a couple different things that I did in my very early life. Sold one of my neighbors' dad was a Hallmark salesman. So we would sell extras and samples and stuff like that around the neighborhood. We literally would drag a wagon around, go door to door. And I was probably 10 or 12 years old and we were selling, a couple, $300 a day. So it made for a nice 6 hours worth of work. So it was rather clever. And then even to the point where, we sold fresh eggs and fresh corn. And I found that if I used a wheelbarrow and put some hay in it, I got 30% more sales by just going to a handful of homes. So I learned very early on. That was, by the way, marketing, not selling. Didn't know that. And then in college, um, I went to a lot of places. I was on the 5-year plan. No comment there. Um, but I worked for some family friends who owned a motorcycle dealership, and I would just basically go crazy on weekends and sell helmets or whatever. And I would tell people, blue is fast, because the owner bought too many blue helmets because black was the number one seller. So we had a bunch of dark navy blue helmets, which I happen to like, and I did that. So that transitioned through college. After college, I got involved in the technology business. I was good at tech. I helped engineer like a 7-figure deal when I was probably 24 years old. And the sales rep wouldn't pay me anything. So I promptly thanked him by leaving and going to work for a company in a sales development role. So he lost his $200 an hour billable resource and I became a competitor. So that was kind of fun. So I then spent probably the next 10 years in technology sales, sold to mid-level executives, higher level executives, and even got to the boardroom of several public companies. And you're probably wondering, well, why the hell is Brian talking about that when it relates to this type of business? Well, I got to tell you, those are your customers, right? So having insight of, when you're selling services, I don't want you to be the cheapest in the market. I don't want you ever to sell on price. I want you to sell on value. I want you to sell on completeness of project. I want you to be, showcasing your ability to deliver at a higher value, but also understand how the buying cycle is different. For executives, it's really about trust, right? Do you do what you say you're going to do when you're going to do it? So if you can't show up when you say you're going to show up, right? And if you don't deliver the proposal when you say you're going to deliver the proposal, that kind of stuff. So that becomes a trust erosion. And so trust is probably the number one factor that I see in understanding how home services guys struggle, right? How can you help trust? Simple ways. Well, one, you can do what you say you're going to do. Two, you can answer the phone if you're going to answer the phone or answer the emails, right, that you say you're going to do. But it's trust. So tell you a true story. We own an interior design business. We're in a very affluent market. Our customers are the same customers that I sold to 20 years ago. And it's all about trust. It is 100% about, you don't need to be the least expensive, because I will tell you from trueness, poor people will ask for a discount and rich people will ask where they can wire the money. So, um, that's true story. So just remember that, you don't have to always sell on price. You need to sell on value. You need to sell on integrity. Nobody cares you've been in business since 1952 or 1983. I mean, they do care you've done something right, but if you haven't had repeat customers forever. So for example, in one of my businesses, I pride myself on the fact that 97% of the clients I've acquired over the last 10 years, if we're not working with them, I can pick up the phone and we can continue to have a conversation because they either didn't need us anymore, or we served our purpose and got to them where they needed to be, and they needed to take it on themselves. Or in minuscule cases, they got fired, right? There are situations where clients will be the PETA factor, the pain in the ass factor will become too much, and it just becomes, you know what, we're not a good fit anymore. You need to go on your own, or we're not offering the services anymore. In home services, that's a little tougher. You can't say that in the middle of a construction project or a bathroom project. So we will talk later on about the client audition and how you can audition clients to make sure that they are good fits. If they have hired others and fired them, that is a giant, giant red flag. Do not work with them, because that means either they're impossible to please, or they're not the kind of buyer you want. So just be very, very careful of those buyers. Anyway, so I consider myself really a sales and marketing expert first, and a coach second, only because that I see people struggling with selling, and they always want to, it's funny. That's one of the first things they want to shovel to somebody else. And my comment is, well, what's tough about selling? Well, they don't want to go through the mechanics of the sales process, right? So they don't want to do the prospecting. They don't want to do the qualifications. They don't want to do the proposal rights. They just want to show up and close and then hand it off to their team to do the work, which is quite honestly the fun part. But if you build systems and processes that will expose you to here, we can't do them. It's a podcast, right? We can't do all those there. But we certainly can showcase you some ideas to think about how you can implement it, right? So one of the things that I require all of our clients to do, we talked about funnels in an earlier episode. I'm going to share with you, funnels is a fancy word for a sales process. So I'm going to share with you a secret. Shh, don't tell anybody. Really don't. Our number one producing response in any media are these two magic words. Ready? If you're in traffic, you can probably remember this. Ready? You want to hear what those two words are? Thank you. Really. Thank you. I can tell you our emails that send thank yous get 70% open rates. I can tell you that our thank you cards that get mailed by us or the team or by me personally get more responses than anything else. Now, some of them are not immediate. You realize that they may not pick up the phone and call you and say, thank you for the thank you card, but I guarantee they will understand why that matters, right? So if for nothing else, on this episode, you think about why does Bryan have some gumption, and why should I help you along this journey? One, I want to, I get it, right? Some of the stuff you're going to hate what I say because it's not going to be what everyone else says you should do. And that's often the herd mentality. If everyone's going in one direction, you should go in another. I'll share some examples later on. But I want to share with you, that is the number one producing result for us. So we're going to talk about that later on. But so anyway, that's Bryan. That's a little bit about me. If you guys have any questions or how I can help in any way, just check the show notes on ways to get a hold of me. And you guys have an amazing time on your walk, watching baseball practice, soccer practice, whatever you're doing. I hope this serves you well, and I will see you on the next episode.